Welcome to Commander Central, episode 108, and today we're going to be taking a look at everyone's most loved or most hated tribe, Slivers. I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.
And that's pretty much how it winds up being. You either detest Slivers or you love them.
Fair enough.
And we just got a new 5-color one announced along with a handful of
4 other ones.
Other ones that can go in decks, so this felt like a kind of talk about
3
Slivers.
other ones, as
Was it
Chris
3 other ones?
points it out with his hand.
I would guess we'll get more than that, but maybe not. Maybe that's just going to be it.
I feel like they would have put them all out
In a group, maybe.
or maybe they just showed us the best of the common and uncommon ones, and we'll probably get some generic ones.
Yeah, just to enable you to do a draft deck.
Yeah.
But still, it's worth talking about, so we will get into that a little bit later on. But first, Chris, how is your house packing coming for the future move here? Living out of boxes yet?
No, not yet. But I hate doing stuff like this.
Because it's like you can have that, you get that deadline coming in like 3 weeks, but you're like, I don't want to do it just yet.
I have 3 weeks.
But you know it's coming in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's like you start packing stuff up. Like right now we're living on like scraps of groceries because like I don't want to buy more.
Right.
Because then you just got to move it. So
Right.
it's like we go out and we buy just like a handful of stuff and then, okay, this is what we're going to eat for the week, I guess.
You describe my life. But I'm a bachelor.
It's like being a bachelor again, right. I was wondering how that was going. Yeah, I don't miss, I did my move last year, and I hope I don't move again. I'm fine if I die in this house.
Well, by the time you need to move again, your son might be old enough to do it all
he can
for
do
you.
the work. That's the goal.
No, he's going to move out to like California or something.
Right. Well, today was his last day of 5th grade, which means he's in junior high next year,
Oh, Lordy.
which I just
How
can't.
is he done with school already? My kid still got like 11 days or something.
They made up, because they had a bunch of the snow days this year, but they made them all up on
Weekend.
teacher in-service days and stuff, because it's a private school, so they can kind of do that much easier. They just made them up, a bunch of them up already, so they're done. Yeah, no weekend stuff, but and then they also dropped a gym class from they've gym like 3 days a week. They dropped gym class once and then did like an extra math, one. So they made a full day or two up just doing an extra class instead of gym or something like
It's
that.
okay.
Too,
Gym's
so.
a joke nowadays. I remember when I was in gym,
Right?
And it was like, oh yeah, guess what? It's nice outside. You're all going to run the mile, and you're like, oh shoot me.
He did complain the other day. He's like, we had to run the Lakers in gym class. Remember Lakers where you run like to the line and back? And he's like, we had to run those in gym class. And I'm like,
those are suicides.
Man, or they were called suicides too. They called them I called them Lakers at one school and suicides at one school. But yeah, so they still do those apparently. I'm like, man, I do not miss that at all. That would definitely kill me today.
Yeah, I remember the fitness of have to do X pull-ups and X sit-ups and crawl up this rope, and I'm like,
Yeah, those were the seasons where I just went to my doctor like, yeah, I don't feel good, and he wrote me a note.
I got a bad heart, doc.
That is exactly what it was.
That's the perfect
I have to
excuse.
have surgery in 2 weeks. Okay, cool. I don't have to do the presidential fitness test.
Yeah, that is a good way to get out of doing gym class stuff you don't like for sure.
Right?
So games we played this week. Max was sick, so he didn't come.
Yeah, I caught something down at GP Madison, and I'm finally feeling better today.
And Chris just wasn't there because you were doing something.
I don't even remember what I was doing.
Family
Everything's
night.
just a blur. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Because I asked you if you were going to be there, because I had all these playmats that we have to sign after recording, FYI.
Okay.
To mail out to
Mental note.
awesome patron supporters. So I'm like, well, if Chris is going to be there, then I'll pack them. And by the time I texted Chris, he's like, I'm staying home with the family. And I'm like, well, then I'm just going to go to the shop, get the one thing I need, and leave.
Yeah, because you came in, I'm like, you forget your cards, Max? And you're like, yeah, I'm not staying. I'm like, oh, all right. I played quite a few games. I will tell you a tale here in a minute, but first I'll say I've been running Death Sprout out of War of the Spark in my Crush deck, and it's a card I wasn't that really high on. It's 1 black, green, so 4 mana, destroy a creature, and fetch a basic land into play tapped. I always like compare it to Pier's Whim. I think Pier's Whim gets you so much more value for those 4 mana. But it's not bad, so I decided to try it in that Crush deck. The thought being, number 1, the deck needs ramp because Crush costs 5. Number 2, he gets bigger when stuff dies. So I'm like, all right, so I wound up pulling out Kodama's Reach or something for it. I don't think it's a great card. I still don't think it's amazing, but I've liked it in that deck. Like I haven't liked it enough to put it anywhere else. I think in that deck, the extra synergy is worthwhile. But I've liked that card. I think I've cast it 3 or 4 times so far, and there's always a good target. There's a great target sometimes where you're like, oh, I'm going to kill that 14/14, and now Crush gets huge. But that's a card I didn't really like when the set came out, and I do like it in that deck. What I think it needs, it's instant speed, which is nice, but it only gets a basic, and it's a destroy effect, and it comes into play tapped. I think if one of those three were different, like it was an exile, I think if the land could be any land, like in Pier's Whim, or if the land was a basic that came into play untapped, it would be fantastic. But the way it's set up right now, it's a fine card, and that's it. Now, I did have a weird thing happen in a game. So there was a new guy in the shop who had never played there before. So I got stuck in there. I played in a couple games with him. Very, very nice. He had a couple different decks. They were on power level, but he was legally blind.
Oh, really?
So he could see well enough to he wasn't, unable to see, but he'd have to lift the cards up to his glasses to read a card he didn't know. And that became relevant in a game. And this is partially my fault as well. For starters, the previous game I was playing my Recce deck, and I had gotten Dosan the Falling Leaf out.
Yep.
Dosan says you can only cast spells on your turn, and it affects all players. But it's just spells. And I played Dosan, and somebody else in the pod said, does that affect abilities? I'm like, no, it's just spells. Okay, all right. We finished the game, whatever happened, moved to the next game. I was playing my Sphinx deck the next game, and the new player had whatever deck he had out. And at some point, he played the Arbiter, Grand Abolisher.
That's abilities.
I'm like, okay, Grand Abolisher, it's fine. And he had something that was lethal damage on board. But I had a Core Haven in hand, and I hadn't played it. So it came back around to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll just play my Core Haven, which lets you remove a creature from combat, or reduces damage at 0. I'm like, okay, I'll be fine with that Grand Abolisher, because I can activate that. I also had a Swords to Plowshares in hand, but I'm like, I'll be fine. And I had a blocker. And I was going to kill him next turn. I wasn't worried about it. Went back to him. He destroyed my blocker. And so that eliminated that as an option, and then swung through it. I'm like, okay, I'll just Core Haven it, because I couldn't cast the Swords to Plowshares.
Yep.
He's like, oh, it's abilities too.
Not of lands.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, really? I'm like, and then I remembered, I'm like, yeah, it's just Dosan that spells Grand Abolisher's abilities too. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I die. That's what it is. I didn't look at the card until tonight when I was doing show prep, and I was like, wait, that can't be right. I don't think it says only mana abilities. So I looked at the card. Yeah, that was perfect. I could have stopped it with the Core Haven. So the legally blind guy, I think, kind of screwed me over because he didn't know what his own card did, and I didn't look it up then either. So yeah, that's I thought that was kind of funny.
And obviously the rest of the table did not have your back.
No one said a word. No one else said a word about it. Yeah.
Let that deck die.
Yeah. I think it was down to just him and I actually at that point in time. So he won the game with that kill, but yeah, I had the Core Haven.
I would have kept my mouth shut. I just would have been like, okay, you die.
I even did a, huh. Wow,
that's better than I thought.
I didn't think it shut off my Core Haven. Wow, that's really strong. Okay, well, and tonight I'm like, that doesn't seem right. So it took me 4 days to realize, but here we are.
Yep.
So that happened to me in a game. Other than that, we played a bunch of games. It was nothing extraordinary. I think this is the last night. We probably have college kids in the shop.
Yeah, this week or next week. I think the technical college here in town wrapped up last week, and I think the university wraps up this week or next week.
Then we tend to get a weird thing that happens. They all disappear for the summer, and then we usually get people that...
The high school kids come in.
Or the people that are going to college somewhere else that come back for the summer. So the numbers in the shop really don't go down. It's just we get a different 6 or 7 different people that come in because they're back for the summer or whatever.
It's actually a nice kind of shake-up to the meta.
It kind of is.
You get used to playing the Boros deck or the Gruul Dragon deck, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, cool, now there's a new Brea deck in the shop, or a deck we've never seen, maybe.
Yeah, it shakes the meta up a little bit, which is nice. So that will be happening in the near future. I'm sure we will report back on that a little bit.
I have something. I didn't play games, but I have an announcement.
Okay.
Tasigur is getting torn apart.
Yeah, you said that. Okay, I saw you mention that.
Yep.
That was your Planeswalker deck you made for the showdown.
Yes.
And you're taking it apart now, but
it is the replacement will be here Saturday.
So you're building another Super Friends deck?
No,
you're just building a new deck. Okay.
I'm building a deck I have never built this archetype before. I'm building an Enchantress deck.
And is it Tuvasa?
It is Tuvasa.
Interesting.
Because I bought one when it came out. I bought the card. And then I'm like, well, I don't really like Tasigur, but I have the majority of the dual lands for this 3-color pair.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money because I spent a lot of money on Tasigur for a deck I don't like.
Right.
And I'd rather just play more almost CEDH level Tasigur if I were to play Tasigur than Super Friends. Sorry, Chris. Like, I loved the Super Friends challenge, but it's not a deck that's sticking around. So I'm going to give a shout out to Commander's Quarters on YouTube.
Yeah.
They did a video on Tuvasa when it was announced, last year. Mm-hmm. So I bought his deck essentially for like less than $40.
Oh, nice.
Except the land base, because I have all those.
Right.
So that should be here from Card Kingdom this weekend, and I should have that sleeved up and ready to go for Kansas City.
Very cool. So that was just, you wanted to find something you hadn't played before, and that jumped out at you.
Yep. I've always kind of liked Tuvasa as a general, but I haven't had the ambition to build a deck, and knowing that Tasker didn't do it for me, I'm like, well, I always want to have 5 decks now, so what can I turn that into? And
nice.
Tuvasa was the chosen one.
Chris is shaking his head. He doesn't agree. You still like your Super Friends deck?
Oh, yeah.
Have you tuned it yet?
No.
So,
I'm waiting for my Ugin back.
I mean, you are like X and 1 with it.
I know.
Yeah, you've won way more games than you've lost, for sure.
And that's why I want to tune it harder.
Well, you both will get the cards I've borrowed back tonight.
So we're going to do a show on Modern Horizons probably next week, and we'll do a review. But I just want to spend like 5 minutes talking about it here briefly before we move on. First of all, I'm going to ask Chris, as a modern player, how much is it going to shake up the format based on what we've seen so far? We're only about halfway through spoilers.
I don't think it's going to shake up the format, but it's definitely going to open up new things that you can do.
I mean, Flusterstorm and the stuff called, what's it called, Force of Negation or Pact of Will. It's one of those two. I forget what it is.
Force of Negation.
Force of Negation.
I like Pact of Will better though.
Like those two alone change things for blue to a degree. Does Flusterstorm, is it better? Is it make Storm better, or is it Storm?
It's
tech?
a sideboard card. It'll be a sideboard card in everything.
Okay.
There was actually an argument going on at the store on Monday if Spell Pierce is better than Flusterstorm, and I think Flusterstorm is just better in general.
Yeah.
Probably depends who your opponent is, I would guess, too, what deck you're going against.
Yep.
But Flusterstorm's almost always going to be, counter target spell unless they pay 2. I guess it's only instant or sorcery, isn't it? It's not just spell, it's instant or sorcery. But
which is the same thing as Spell Pierce, but it could be better.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is that it has a higher ceiling than Spell Pierce does.
Yeah. Interesting. I'll be curious to see how those two cards in particular shake out. But there's a lot of kind of fringy stuff. Like, Goblins is not really played right now, but getting Matron's interesting. I don't know, it's probably not enough to make it good, but...
Give me Lackey, too, and I'll be in heaven.
Coco Gobos, that's what I'm going to build.
Yeah, man, Max is actually building Goblins for Modern.
I'm going to build green-red Goblins just because I can Coco into all the lords.
Because that'll be fun. I mean,
why not?
If you're not like a dedicated Modern player, I might as well play a fun deck.
And then I can stop getting crap from the kid that works at our shop. When are you going to play Modern? When are you going to play Modern? When are you going to play Modern?
He's only like 16 too, right?
Yeah, and he's still a kid.
Or 17 now. I think he just turned 17.
Punk? Is that better? Is he a punk?
No, as of spoilers right now, I know of 3 cards for sure off the top of my head that will see play.
Well, and the 5 lands.
Well, yeah,
those lands
not including the lands.
That
6
was
lands.
6 lands. All right, 6 lands technically. Because that the fetch land that will just get a basic. I was genuinely shocked to see them do that Horizon Canopy cycle.
I'm excited, man.
It's awesome.
The red-white one. Oh!
So good.
I mean, of all the, I thought maybe they would do Grove of the Burn Willow cycle. Like, that was a possibility. But I did not think they would do the Horizon Canopy cycle. And it did it in enemy colors versus ally colors where we've already got a bunch of duels. So as a commander player, that's really nice, too.
Yep.
It also opens it up where now they can do the ally cycle if they want to finish it off, because Horizon Canopy is an ally color.
So you need to do 4 new ones. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if or when they do that. But that was a really nice thing to see. And we mentioned the fetch land. Now, here's the thing that I start wondering about now. I only run Crucible of Worlds in my landfall deck. But at some point, I think we're gonna hit a density of lands where, man, do I want to just run Crucible in a bunch of decks? Because I usually run 2 or 3 land destruction lands, whether it's Strip Mine, Wasteland, Dust Bowl, Ghost Quarter, or whatever I happen to have in that deck. I usually have 3, but I always have 2.
Yep.
And in a 2-color deck, I have 1 fetch. I don't run off-color fetches, but I have 1 fetch. But in a 3-color deck, I usually have 3 fetches. And this new one is worth running in any 2-color deck, I would say.
I'd say in almost any deck.
I mean, it doesn't hurt in a 1-color deck just to get a free shuffle, particularly if you have if you're playing, even in green, if you have a Sylvan Library or Miri's Guile.
Mono white with scroll rack.
Yeah, for like it's not going to be a wrong choice. I don't know if I would run it, but like I would get it if you want to. So between the fetches and that, and like even Ash Barrens is a legitimate card in 3 or more colors. Worst case, late game, you just play it as a land. We don't need the fixing, and it doesn't come into play tapped.
Yep.
So I feel like we're getting really, really close now, particularly with these Horizon Canopy lands that you can sacrifice. I'm like, man, just accidentally, I feel like I'm going to have 6 to 7 lands in almost all my decks that get put in the graveyard if I choose to do so. And at that point, I'm like, Crucible's almost always going to have one target. And then it's pretty easy from there to say, okay, do I want to toss a couple cycling lands in then just to further enable that? I don't know, but that's going to be interesting because I feel like Crucible's really, really close to just accidentally going in a ton of decks.
Oh, I agree with you.
So
yeah. I mean, I actually, the minute those lands got spoiled, I bought a playset of Crucibles.
I saw them on your table when I came in
because I'm like, you know what? I don't have a single one, and at the $17 or $18 I bought them for each.
At some point,
I bought mine for like 12 like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, worst case, they're going to sit in a binder for a year and 1.5 times value.
Yeah, right, and they're not going to get reprinted in the near future. They just there's so many reprints. They're not going to put them back in standard again. I mean, they could, but like they just won't. They tend to not do that. 12 years ago, they used to do that thing where they like do back-to-back core sets where you'd have a Chroma's Memorial in 2 sets or the Planeswalkers in 2 sets, but they haven't done that in a long time.
You never know with this next core set coming up.
Well, we also mentioned this.
Get all 10 original fetches.
I will say this too. We talked about like this poor core set that has to come following War of the Spark. It's not just following War of the Spark. This poor core set is now following Modern Horizons.
So here's this is what's going to save this core set.
Lightning Bolt.
Maybe, yeah.
And
Maybe.
Counterspell.
No, they wouldn't print those in standard. I honestly, if I had to guess with this core set, all it's going to be staple cards that could be played in standard. So you can keep it in rotation.
Sure.
Like Shock will probably see it in there.
You're going to see a couple new Planeswalker kill spells probably.
I will say this. I did think with us getting Scape Shift last year and Crucible, I think they tested to see how core sets would be if they put some really pricey, strong staples in the core set that maybe.
And none of those cards get played in the standard.
They didn't hurt in standard a bit.
Omniscience was one of those as well.
Omniscience, there we go. None of that stuff hurt standard a bit.
Exactly, because it doesn't get played in standard.
Yep.
So I wonder if they'll get even bolder now and be like, oh, well, standard's fine if we did this, so let's see what other crazy things we can put in there.
So look at that random $30 to $50 card.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I was then thinking was, like, we'll talk about these cards later, but there's a bunch of Sliver cards. We just got these ones in Modern. They could very easily throw some of those in standard. We've had core set Slivers in the past.
Make them good Slivers like the ones in this set, or from the past, not the old core set humanoid Slivers.
Well, yes. Yeah, the art on these ones is much better. Yeah, it's really interesting. We also mentioned this a week or two ago, how this was kind of teased as kind of a throwback to the Time Spiral block. They were not kidding with that.
No, they weren't.
It has the same dumb stuff in it where you're like, what the heck? Let's throw Cycling and Convoke on the same card and see what happens. There's a bunch of dumb stuff like that, and I love it. Like, I love this. This is an amazing set. And at this point, core sets are not core sets. The master sets, like the Modern Masters and Eternal Masters ones, are really, really useful, and I'm glad we get those because it keeps prices down. But this is awesome, I think. Having this kind of set that makes a bunch of new cards for older formats is really, really, really cool. And I would love to see this kind of set at least every other year, if not every year. This is amazing, I think.
Yeah, the big thing that's caught me off guard so far by looking at the set is the amount of new cards that are here.
Yeah, yes.
And hardly any reprints.
I was fairly sure we were going to get a ton of reprints of stuff that you're like, whatever. So many good new cards. Like today, this is one we will absolutely talk about when we do the set. The White Beast Within. That is bonkers. I cannot believe we got a White Beast Within. It's not standard legal, but like that's going to go in a ton of commander decks. And there's a bunch of those kind of cards in here where you're like, oh, that's absolutely a great new card to put in this deck.
The Green Force is by far the most broken card ever.
The Green Force is super
it is
cool.
So broken.
That is super cool.
That's stupid.
This is
destroy up to 2 enchantments and or 2 artifacts for 1 green card.
Yeah, I mean, it winds up being it turns it's a nature's claim, like it double nature's claim essentially for you spend no mana,
but you can hit up to 4 targets with it. It's just stupid.
It's is it a 4 or is it 2? Only it's only 2. It's only 2.
Up to 2 enchantments and or up to 2.
I think the way it's working, it's only 2.
Scrolling. Force of Vigor, 2 green. If it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments.
Yeah, so that just means 2.
It's like a Return to Dust.
Yeah, same wording. But still, 2 for 0 mana, and you pitch a card that you can't use is great.
By Mana Dork.
Yeah, right. It's a turn 6 Mana Dork that you don't care about.
Right.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's just so many of these that I'm just like, oh, what a fun card. And even if the cards aren't good, there's a bunch of them that are like, oh, what a cool throwback to a previous card. Like,
right?
What did we get the red giant today that was a Juzam Djinn, essentially? It was a red Juzam Djinn.
You know what? I'm going to say this right now and shout out to our boy Raf Garcia.
Yeah.
He's got bears.
Trash card.
Bears galore.
A bunch of new bears and the bear commander he wanted.
The OG bear commander.
Yeah, he was like, that was so cool.
He's he literally said, I slept for 4 hours and I missed the card of my dreams.
And then he sells a lot of stuff online. He's got a TCG player store. So he's sold a bunch of his unused bears he had today because other people were like scrambling to buy them. Yeah. Yeah, no, he was super hype about that. That's awesome. Okay. That's enough Modern Horizons talk because we're actually going to review the set in a future date here in about a week. But if you want to tell us how excited you are for this set or how bad you feel for Core Set 2020, I guess it'll be, how would you find us on social media?
You can find us on Twitter at CMDR Central. You can find us on Facebook by searching CMDR Central. You can find us on YouTube, CMDR Central. You can find us online at cmdrcentral.com.
We are also on Patreon.
Yeah, head over to patreon.com/CMDR Central. Check out our reward tiers. The most popular one is the decks you play.
Yeah.
You see those episodes every Thursday. Sometimes we throw a little bit of nonsense on our Thursday episodes instead of decks you play, But that's when we'll be doing a lot of those shows. And I will say this now, we did talk about this off mic.
We did.
But expect to see some changes to our Patreon structure coming probably by July 1st is when we'll implement those. So you have the rest of this month of May, all of June for our current structures, and we'll launch the new ones probably on June 30th, June 29th to July 1st. We're going to be changing some stuff up. We're going to be releasing some new tiers to make you guys want to keep supporting us at those dollar levels, whether it's the $1, $2 level, or even the 15 or 30 are the new levels we're creating. And can I spoil the new one?
We will just say you have an opportunity to come on the show.
Yes.
We'll put it that way.
Let's put it like that. So look for that in the coming months.
Pants, optional.
Well, I mean, unless you want to come to Eau Claire, then,
right. Then you have to wear pants. So this is Max's house. He's the only one that ought to be pantsless here.
For now.
We'll see. Maybe even the higher tier.
Yeah.
You cannot wear pants at the super high tier. I like that.
Yes, look for some changes coming in the next couple of months. Yeah. Obviously, again, we thank everybody that supports us, no matter what level they're at.
Yes.
From anybody from the $1 just helping us out, or the $2 people that come into our chat on Slack and talk Modern Horizons and the Bear Commanders and beer with me, because that's what I tend to do on Wednesday nights after about 9 o'clock, is I just start typing things while drinking.
Yeah. Yes, man. He is. You always have good beer information and good beer stories though to share.
I do.
I appreciate that. And if you can support us, like listener David S. supported us by sending us a cool Aaron Kane custom wooden deck box that we're using for a giveaway this month.
Yeah. So as long as you become a patron supporter or continue to support us on Patreon by the end of May, you'll be entered to win that Rosalesque. I don't remember the card name.
Apex Hybrid, I believe.
Apex Hybrid commander deck that we built all the way back on episode 100, all 8 episodes ago now?
8 episodes ago now, yeah.
Wow, it feels like a lifetime.
It does.
We'll be giving that away to one lucky patron supporter.
Yeah. 9 days from now. By the time this airs, it'll be pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
we'll probably be announcing that winner Probably either on the show that airs on June 10th, because
by the time we get back and get
we'll
a show
be back
done
from
after,
Kansas City.
Yeah.
I won't have time to figure out the winner. Sorry, everybody. So we'll announce the winner on June 10th.
Okay.
And most likely have the deck ready to go the following week.
Sounds good. Should we talk about some slivers?
Is that what we're talking about today? We didn't really say what we were talking about.
That is what at the top of the show I mentioned that was everyone's favorite or least favorite
right.
least favorite tribe.
My bad.
Chris once upon a time had a sliver deck, but we just got a new one spoiled here in Modern Horizons, a new 5-color legendary sliver. So we wanted to talk a little bit about this tribe and its role in Commander. One thing I did actually just read today, these were inspired by Plague Rat, a card in Alpha that reads it gets +1/+1 for each other Plague Rat you control.
Yep.
And that's essentially what slivers were based on. Like, we want this creature that gets better based on other things around it, but rather than just do the +1/+1, they will all have their own unique ability that will stack based on other slivers around them. Which is really simple, but it wound up being such a really, really unique, cool concept. And I think when you coupled that with the design on them is really great too. Like the art on the slivers, lore-wise, they're really interesting. It's just kind of been this tribe that's stuck in people's brains. It's also not attached to any one color. They're 5-color creatures. So they don't have that color identity like you get where zombies being black for the most part. Tree folk are green, dragons red, whatever. Like it's very much, there's no color identity there, which is actually a kind of a weird, cool thing about them as well.
Because they're ever evolving.
They're always changing.
If you read the lore back in Stronghold or whatever it was, when Gerard and everybody runs into them, as they're fighting them, they start changing.
Yeah.
They evolve to the battle to become better.
So let's actually touch on that briefly. We're not a lore show. We're not going to do a huge deep dive into the lore of slivers here.
I actually have a little book of lore from that area that talks about the battle that they had with the slivers.
So they were on Wrath, I think was the plan, or on the plane where they were first encountered. They're not from there. Volrath brought them there along with the Sliver Queen. And if I remember right, Karn encountered her because they hid some pieces of the legacy weapon in the Sliver Hive. And Karn was able to get them out by talking to the Sliver Queen, communicating with her and explaining that the legacy weapon is kind of part of him, just like the slivers are all part of her. And she let him take the pieces. And then later on, when the Phyrexian invasion happened, Wrath got overlaid onto Dominaria, and that killed most of the slivers.
They fell in a volcano.
Basically, they fell in a volcano. And the Sliver Queen died. And then, of course, since then, there's been different storylines. They were resurrected by
Videlkin mages or something like that.
On an island that they overran. But there's no queen to control them. So, like, at one point, Lord Windgrace actually kind of was keeping them from going crazy. And I think they still exist on Dominaria in this form.
It wouldn't surprise me.
There's a weird form of them on, what's the other plane that was in the core set? I've now just forgot.
The M14 core set?
No, Chandalar. Yeah, the M14 ones are from Chandalar. So the ones that are kind of humanoid looking are on Chandalar. And of course, I don't think the ones in Wrath came from Chandalar. They probably have some shared previous existence thing.
They're like second cousins.
Yeah,
it's like the movie Aliens.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
So in Alien 3, they breed a fake alien type of deal. And
this is that.
Yes.
I liked Alien 3.
Well, and one of the things someone's kind of pointed out now, too, a couple of the slivers, of the ones we have here that we just got in Modern Horizons, one is Dregscape Sliver, which has Unearth, which is an Alara mechanic.
Yep.
And the first sliver is the new legendary one we'll talk about in a bit that has Cascade, which is also an Alara mechanic. So there's some speculation that means there's actually slivers on Alara. And then the Tempered Sliver is one of the new ones. And based on the art and the background of that one, it looks like it's on Mirrodin or New Phyrexia. So they're actually now indicating they are probably in other places as well. Whether that's part of the storyline we'll see down the road or it's just a cool flavor thing, I don't know.
The flavor text on that Tempted Sliver is awesome.
Yeah, yes.
The question isn't whether slivers will adapt to the world's perils, but whether the world's perils will adapt to the slivers.
And on a card for slivers in New Phyrexia, that's super cool.
That totally makes sense.
And that could just be like a fun flavor text and that's it, but like I would be super hyped to see a Sliver storyline coming down the pike, that would be fantastic. So this could just be teasing you, but it could be something really fun too. So let's talk a little bit about the Sliver commanders here. And we've had 4 of them prior to this set. Kind of 5, I guess, if you count Mistform Ultimus. You could play mono blue Slivers with Mistform Ultimus because he has all creature types.
Yeah, you could.
But you have Sliver Queen, which was the original Sliver Legend. Wooburg, and they're all 4 of them are Wooburg. She's a 7/7 that was in Stronghold, like Chris mentioned. And she has an ability that says basically spend 2 mana, you can create a colorless Sliver token.
Yep.
And that was your commander when you played Slivers, right?
One of them. You can pretty much swap them out. It depends on how you want to play the deck.
Would you rotate between them? I think you played that one and the Hive Lord.
I think you have to choose how you want to play the deck to debate which commander you're going to use.
Because the others just go in it.
Yep.
And she's in the reserve list and can't be reprinted and is super expensive right now.
I'm super irritated with that because I got rid of mine after having it for like 8 years at $70. I'm like, whatever. And then she got bought out this last 2 months ago or something like that.
Ugh. The next one we got was Sliver Overlord. That was in Scourge, a 7/7, and has 3. You can search your library for a Sliver and put it in your hand, or spend 3 to gain control of a Sliver. That was in the deck, but I don't remember if you put it as a commander or not.
I did at one point because I had an interesting combo with it's one of the shapeshifter amoebas that you can turn something else into a
creature.
Changeling.
Yep,
you can turn it into a changeling, and then you activate the Overlord's ability
control
and
of the Sliver.
it.
That's right. I remember that.
Dirty.
Yeah, dirty.
Scumbag.
Then there was Sliver Legion in Future Sight, Wooburg for 7/7 as well. All Slivers get +1/+1 for each Sliver on the battlefield.
Yep.
So that's really simple and really, really dumb. Yeah,
a much better coat of arms.
Yeah. And the last one was an M15 Sliver Hive Lord, which is Wooburg. It's only 5/5. That one got small. But it's indestructible, and all Slivers get indestructible. Yep. And so, yeah, that was a pain in the butt to deal with. Now, in this set, technically, we get another cheater one. We get Morphon the Boundless.
Can we pause there quick?
Sure.
The Hive Lord, because it's M15, and they did that weird thing with the Slivers.
Oh, yeah, we should note that.
So all the M15 Slivers were not something that affected all Slivers on the battlefield. It only affected the ones you control.
So prior to this, a Sliver gave its abilities to all Slivers in play, whether you had them or not.
Yeah.
Starting with M15 and the Hive Lord, it's Slivers you control.
Yes, so Hive Lord technically does read Slivers you control are indestructible.
Well, I remember playing before M15 came out. Slivers was one of my first EDH decks. And people purposely put changelings in there.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the ability of just yours dead.
Right.
So there one changeling would be like, oh, I drew my changeling against him. Guess what?
I remember thinking, should I put Plague Sliver? which is where Slivers deal damage to their controller. I'm like, should I put that in my decks just when I play against Chris's Sliver deck?
And I was about to tell that story where when we, at the shop we played at that time, and Chris was new to EDH, and he built Slivers, one of the assistant manager of the shop, he goes, hey, I dug these out of bulk.
Yeah, that's right.
And
he had a bunch of them.
10 different people a Plague Sliver. He's like, put this in your black deck when you play Chris against when he plays Slivers. And it was one game. Chris like, okay, I'm gonna play Slivers, and we're all like, Plague Sliver. He's like, what? And he thought it was a joke. Then the next person did it.
Yeah.
And the entire pod all of a sudden played Plague Slivers within 1 or 3 turns of each other. And Chris is like, wait a minute, I'm getting punked. I'm like, yeah, you are.
It was pretty bad.
I take 1, you take 20.
Yeah, Hive Lord was the first one that was different and gives all your Slivers indestructible. So that's fantastic as well. We mentioned we kind of got a cheater one here in Horizons. It's Morphon the Boundless because it's also a changeling, has all creature types.
Sweet card.
So you could play it, and it's a great card too. And I would consider putting it in my deck. I don't know if I do it as a commander, but. And then we got the first Sliver, which is also Wooburg. It's back to being a 7/7. This is just dumb.
It is stupid.
So dumb. It has Cascade, and it says Sliver spells have Cascade. I can't even.
It's gonna be dumb.
And even, which means you're like, oh, I might as well put Crib Swap in here or something, so you can just cast the changeling spells and get Cascade off it.
And like the M15 Slivers, it does say Sliver spells you cast have Cascade.
Yeah.
In fact, I think all of these Modern Horizon Slivers are Slivers you control, but they actually are good abilities versus the M15 ones, which were lackluster.
In Merrill said he said that like the ship has probably sailed on the ones that share with the whole table.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way the mechanic tends to work nowadays, and they're trying to keep it consistent.
It would break the game.
I understand people want the old way, but like, I get it.
At least
they evolved. That's just what slivers do.
It even makes sense in context of that's a good point, Chris. I like that.
Theoretical question. Which came first? The first sliver or the queen?
Man, so I would assume
the first sliver the queen.
I would assume the first sliver is the first, because I think lore-wise, all slivers were like born from the first sliver kind of shattering. That's why they're called slivers. So I would guess the first sliver is literally the first sliver, kind of like the dragon is the first dragon.
Gotcha.
Because Modern Horizons isn't bound to any timeline.
True.
Which is why we get Sarah.
Because it's all over the place.
But we're getting Sarah, we're getting Urza. So I would guess it really is the first sliver.
Nicobolas broke the timeline. That's what happened.
Right, maybe he did break it again, yeah.
That gauntlet snap went wrong.
But the queen came from somewhere.
Yep.
And she wasn't a constructed creature, at least according to the lore. So I really do hope we get more of this. Slivers are just fascinating as a creature type. So of those 5 commanders, which do you think is the best?
The new one.
I'm gonna kind of bounce off Chris here. I think it depends on how you want to build your deck.
Sure.
I think if you want to go combo, Queen is still gonna be the
Queen
best.
still has a lot of and Silver Overlord does too. There's some combo stuff you can do with that as well.
But overall, like for maybe like the fun factor of Commander, yeah, the new one is definitely probably the most fun.
I think it'll be the most fair out of all of them because you're just randomly going to get something off the top of your deck.
Yeah, if you want to beat face and just do combat damage stuff, this one, Silver Legion, I mean, Hive Lord's great too, but Hive Lord's probably better in the 99 than it is as your commander. But it's also one of those ones, I remember when you would play your Sliver Queen deck, I'd be like, okay, I'm keeping Chris in check. I've got him. And then you'd just be like, okay, my turn, I'm going to tap 5 and play Sliver Hive Lord, and the Queen's already out, and I'm like, okay, well, that's it. Unless we all just continuously draw exile spells.
And back in the day, there weren't many.
There were less when you were playing this deck than there are now.
I definitely like that the Cascade thing is interesting because a lot of the slivers aren't very high costed, except like the M15 ones.
Yeah, so you're really if you're gonna build this deck properly, you're gonna have to look at the card count of your CMC and build it so you know, okay, I cast this 3-drop, I have 5 2-drops and 4 1-drops that I could cascade into. Which one am I looking for?
Right.
So is it worth it to do it?
It's definitely it's a more complicated Yasan deck almost. Like you need to know between your other creature spells, your other slivers in the deck, because I don't see you running many other type of creatures except for maybe changelings.
Right.
And your non-creature spells and your lands, what's your ratio of, cool, I'm going to cast, like you said, I'm going to cast this 3-drop. Am I going to hit a sliver? Am I going to hit a removal spell? Am I going to hit a ramp spell? What am I going to hit?
So when you played this deck, Chris, in your opinion, as someone who's played it, what were the strengths and weaknesses of playing Slivers as a tribe?
The biggest strength was probably if they all synergize together.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter which one you play or when you play it, it just synergizes with the rest of them if you built the deck properly.
And it changes the entire board state and what's going on. You're like, okay, he's got 3 slivers out, there are 3 3s. All right, if you play something, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and my guys all suddenly have haste and double strike because you play the haste one and the double strike one. And you're like, yeah, none of that stuff I just thought matters. Everything's now different.
The biggest weakness by far of this deck is your opponents. Because immediately when you flip your general, your opponents go,
you're playing slivers. You're playing slivers. I know how that works. Yeah, I think I agree with that.
It's a high targeted tribe.
Because they are so synergistic,
Yes.
It's so easy to just accidentally have stuff that's way too powerful.
Now, Max, you having played against Crystal Slivers deck, what are your thoughts on that with strengths and weaknesses?
It's a scumbag deck, and you should kill him first.
I will take that
all trash cards.
Because the last time that I pulled the deck out was before I got rid of my queen, because now I got rid of my queen, and it was dedicated combo.
Yeah, it was.
And I could combo off turn 4. Consistently.
Pretty consistently. So was that when you had was it the queen as a commander?
Yep.
Yeah.
And mana echoes, because you go infinite with mana echoes.
Yep.
Right.
Because you just put out with that and mana echoes or the one that reduces the mana cost, the 1 blue enchantment.
Training grounds.
Yeah.
Training grounds plus the 3 mana sliver. You sack a sliver to create 2 black.
Yep.
You create infinite tokens.
Yeah. And then you'll eventually hit the heart sliver, gives you haste. And there's a ton of different ways you get there.
Yeah, you can create infinite tokens and infinite mana, and then you just do whatever you want to do.
I remember it. Number one, it felt very resilient too. Like you'd board wipe and you'd just be back in 3 turns. Build back up again.
I built the deck that way because there are cards that return cards with CMC 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it's like, oh, guess what? 90% of my slivers are CMC 2 or less. So,
and it also felt like it didn't really have that glaring Achilles heel. Like if I'm playing against Max's Brago deck and I have an opening hand with like a Darksteel Mutation in it, I'm like, oh, if he plays Brago and he's tapped out, I can just Darksteel Mutation it, and he better hope he has Return to Dust in hand or something like that in hand, or his deck's going to have a really difficult, not that you don't have good pieces in there, but like you're going to have a really tricky time for the next 3 or 4 or 5 turns doing anything without Brago because so much of the deck is built around him.
I'm just going to force a negation.
Right. Well, I guess, yeah. Since it doesn't hit, Force Negation wouldn't hit an enchantment spell. So.
Oh, okay, so I'll pact it.
There we go.
Are you sure it wouldn't? Because I do believe Force Negation is literally a negate.
No, it's negate, so it's non-creature.
Non-creature spell.
So never mind. I guess you would stop it.
Got him.
I'm not saying like you did. You got me. But looking at your Brago deck, I feel like I could see that play. I remember playing that Sliver deck, and I'm like, I just have to have more stuff.
I get rid of one threat, and another one just takes its place.
I just need to have more stuff, and I need to hope these guys all are aware of what's happening. I hope my opponents.
I really enjoy the design that way because it almost seems like they didn't mean to do it that powerful, but it just kind of synergized together. So it even fits the story. Like you take out one just replaces it, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Any advice you have for players who are playing a Sliver deck or want to build one?
Make friends.
Be good at politicking.
Yes.
Because you'll be the arch enemy otherwise really, really quickly.
Yes. The other thing is detune it. Because it is so easy in the 5 colors to just go heavy combo, make it aggressive, and always win your games. Just detune it down. Start playing some of the heavy drop slivers that aren't that great.
Because slivers are it is a fun deck to play against.
Yeah.
I think you said it was oppressive. Your combo was oppressive, but like the deck itself, slivers are really strong. But I do think it's a fun challenge to play against a deck too. And the game state just changes so quickly that's difficult to deal with. But it's also fun to play against.
Yes.
To see how rapidly that the game state morphs just like slivers morph.
Yeah, because I mean, like at one point, my version was that 10 mana sorcery, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you hit an instant or sorcery card or something, or non-land, non-permanent.
It's from Avacyn Restored. Dana used to run it
Primal
in
Surge.
There
Primal Surge.
At one point, I played that, and I'm just like, oh yeah, flip. Next week, I'm like, nope, that version's dead. That was 2. That sucks.
So easy.
Basically, any Primal Surge deck, you do it once or twice, and you're like, and I'm good.
But I mean, the ability to go anything with this. So don't build it too oppressive. Just have fun with it.
One thing I remember is at some point noticing, man, when he plays that turn 2 or 3 mana weft sliver, that changes everything.
That's a game over if you can't deal with it.
Yep, mana weft or gem hide, which allows your slivers to tap for any color of mana.
Mm-hmm. Just being able to have your perfect fixing on those slivers is so useful.
Watch them give us another one.
I wonder if they will. Well, so that was one of the challenges though. It's 5 colors for the most part. You're playing a 5-color sliver deck. Your mana base is really, really tricky.
The big thing I noticed when I built it is you look at the slivers, all of them. Like go to Scryfall or whatever you use, search them up, and see which ones would fit how you want to play your deck. And it's pretty much going to become a 3-color deck splashing 2 other colors.
Okay.
Like usually when I built it, green was my heavy color because of all the ramp spells.
Sure.
So I can always be on all the other colors. Followed by blue for card draw, and then the rest just kind of fell into place after that.
Because white has probably the weakest slivers aside from the 5-color ones.
Yep.
Well, the double strike one, I think, or one of the double strike ones is white.
Bone Size Sliver is
4 mana.
Yep.
Or 2/2.
I think, is there a red one that's double strike too, but it's like a 6 mana one, if I remember correctly? Out of Time Spell, I think red had a
They had some
double
weird
strike
ones,
one or something too, but
probably.
I am not positive. That makes sense. In a 5-color deck, if you can just count on like the City of Brass, Mana Confluence, and your basics, those kind of lands to hit your that 4th and 5th color, and everything else can kind of be focused on the colors you're going to be casting most of the time.
Yep.
Because this is a deck, the commander is really, really good and makes a huge difference. But if you're just casting slivers and you happen to not hit that 5th color for your commander, a lot of times you're probably still going to be okay.
True.
The commander's like an over-the-top thing that helps you maybe seal the win, but like you don't always need it.
Which is why I like the new one, because the ability on it just to be able to cascade with itself, it could just change the game. You never have to cast a card, but if you do cast it, could just change the game right then and there.
And you get the Cascade's a cast trigger, so it just happens.
Yep.
I feel like it should have said Eminence. Slivers you control have Cascade.
Oh, man. How miserable would that be?
That would have been awesome.
Mr. Gavin Verhey, if you're listening, cue that up for like Commander 2021.
I did like the point you made about having a win con or having a plan in advance, because there is going to be a difference if you're playing for like a combo that you're going to use Sliver Queen for versus like I'm just going to do beatdown stuff with Sliver Legion because it's going to stack everything so high. Those are going to be very different decks.
Yep.
Because like trample as a keyword is pretty useless if you're going for the combo build, and it's really, really useful in a Legion deck where you're wanting to stack huge power and toughness slivers.
Yep. I always figured when I picked the general, I wanted to be able to do multiple things within the deck. Like if I wasn't playing Queen, the combo's still built into the deck, but it's not set up so that's the first thing you're going to go for.
I remember evasion and protection, because there's one that gives them shroud.
Yep.
And one that made spells cost 2 more, I believe.
Yep. Diffusion Sliver and Crystalline Sliver.
And yeah, that was awful to have to deal with.
The worst one is that 1 drop from M15 that gives all slivers you control flying.
Yeah. For 1 mana.
Frick.
Yeah. So good. I run into my Edric deck because it's a 1/1 flyer. I don't care about anything else. It's a 1/1 flyer. It's good enough. It's a flying man in there. Yeah, that one is fantastic. I think it's the Heart Sliver that gives them haste, too.
There's a bunch of ones that give them haste.
That one always got me, too. Where I'm like, okay, he's only got 2 slivers out. Oh, he's only going to... I've got 1 blocker. I'm fine. Pass the turn. Heart Sliver, Sliver, Sliver. And I'm like, I thought I was taking 4 damage, but I'm taking 66.
Yep. In my opinion, probably the strongest one, and this is for people to think about, is called Homing Sliver. It is from Future Sight. It is a 2 colorless and a red for a 2/2. It says each sliver card in each player's hand has sliver cycling 3, which means you can discard this card and search your library for a sliver card.
For paying 3.
Yep. Now this card also has cycling built into it too.
Sure.
So you can cycle this while it is in your hand. So the ability to just tutor up what you need at whatever, because cycling can be done at instant speed.
Go grab that evasion sliver. Go grab the double strike one if you have evasion already. Yeah, that's true. I remember you doing that. The other thing I would say, and this is something I sometimes see in other tribal decks, is people get fixated a little bit too much on the buff slivers that like give all slivers +1/+1 or +2/+2. And there's a bunch of those. And I think Max himself has 75 or 80 of the slivers get +3/+3 or more than that even.
The last time I counted, which would have been when I pulled them all out of a binder, I'm pushing 100 time-stamped promo Megantic slivers from M15.
Okay, you got to put them
14.
Put them all in one of those zipper binders. And when someone's like, "Oh, I haven't got any trades," just pull out that binder first and have them just watching a look on their face and just be like, "Oh shoot, I gave you the wrong binder."
It's 14 pages of Megantic slivers.
I'm debating doing that, or like every other page is a full page of them.
Oh, you should for sure do that.
Walk up to a buyer. I would like to sell these.
Yeah, that would be one thing I would say to keep an eye on, too. I think people do that in tribes a little bit too much, and I think it's easy in the slivers ones to focus on that too much as well. Any other things you guys would like to share about building a sliver deck?
Well, we all know I don't build anything but 2-color decks.
Right.
But I think it just depends on on the scale of 1 to 10, where do you want to be?
It's very easy to change the power level of this deck, too.
Yep. I mean,
build it into what your play group.
Swapping out like 4 cards could change it from a CEDH level down to a casual level.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you could do something fun, just run all the 2-color slivers.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
yeah.
There you go.
True. I never thought about that.
Well,
the big thing that I enjoy about this is that it's probably the easiest 5-color deck to build.
Yeah.
Because everything synergizes,
sure.
So you don't have to focus so much on, well, in order to get these cards to work together, how am I going to do it? This is just like, okay, they just work together. Now, which cards do I put in and which cards do I take out?
Right. Yeah, it's probably the one 5-color deck where you have a really clear plan. Oh, well, I'm building slivers, and I'm putting slivers in a deck and stuff that synergizes the slivers, and then some removal and draw and board wipes, and that's it. But like, you know what the deck's going to look like when you're building it versus like, what's your Progenitus deck going to look like? I have no idea. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that about it as well.
I have a challenge for Chris.
All right.
Because he likes to do these to me on the air.
Trash card. Speaking of that, I have to stop you here.
Oh,
Whoever
Lord.
changed Slack, so whenever my name is mentioned, it says trash card. I find that awesome. I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. It's just all of a sudden it'd be like Slackbot's like trash card. I'm like, what? Why?
Whenever it says your name, it says trash card. Whenever it says it's Max's name,
No, whenever you say scumbag,
it says Max. It says stop talking about Max that way.
and whenever you say Dana's name, it says that's a low floor card or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who
I
changed.
don't know. So I honestly thought Dana did it because I'm
No,
like,
it was not. It was not me.
I believe it was Henry.
Okay.
all right, sorry to interrupt you, but I just
No, it's fine.
I could not figure it out the other day. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Who hates me?
So here's my challenge for you, Chris.
Okay.
I have a modified Alesha deck for you
Okay.
based on our topic today. There are 41 sliver cards that you can reanimate with Alesha
In the colors?
in those
Those
colors.
are horrible colors, though.
I
You
know.
don't get the evasion. You don't get trample.
You get vigilance and double strike and haste. And
is there a menace one?
yes, there is a menace one, and then there's the black one.
Shadow? There's a shadow one, I think.
There's a shadow. There's leeching. So whenever a sliver you control attacks, defending player loses a life. You get mind. You get necrotic sliver. Like there you go. Sacrifice it. Destroy target permanent for 2 mana.
He's thinking about it now.
Yeah. See.
I'm trying to think of how I can build it into combo.
That was one of the things maybe we'll get on the common and uncommon sort if we get more of them in a set is if they just use random world keywords like, hey, this one has afflict and this one has
Salted sliver.
like really specific keywords from like sets we've gone through in the last couple of years.
Delve sliver. It costs
Yeah.
like 10 in a
Yeah,
blue,
yeah.
but you can delve into it.
Yeah, just so you can build totally mix and match whatever keywords that have existed
Yep.
in the last few years.
41
I could do it.
slivers in Mardu that have power 2 or less.
See, and the hardest thing about this is what Max is telling me is I own every single sliver
have them
card.
all, right, yeah, exactly.
Except for the queen that I got rid of. I have every single other one still. And I'm just like, I can build this too. Do I want to?
And this is including the 3 new ones from Horizon that are in these colors.
Well, if you do decide to build a brand new 5-color slivers deck, I do have a sliver queen we could make a deal on
You
at
do?
some point.
Okay.
I do have a queen. So we can figure something out if you decide you want to put it back together because of this.
Hey,
We'll see how many more get
All right.
printed.
I know this is slightly off topic, but we did talk about the Morphon, the Boundless.
Yeah.
There's my Kavu tribal commander.
Whatever you want to do. One thing cool about Morphon, and we'll mention this probably when
Yes.
we review it too, that's one that you absolutely can scale down because of the way his ability works. It reduces the cost on things, but you don't need that mana. It's not like it's an activated ability.
Right.
It just reduces the cost. So if you want to build Morphon as a 2-color,
Do it.
there's no downside to that. You can flex that commander into any color combination you want to for whatever tribe you want to, and it just works. That's a really cool design. I like that.
Yeah,
If you want to go 2-color Kavu, it works just as well as it does if you go in 5 colors.
Scarecrows.
Yeah, right. Whatever you want. Right, yeah, Scarecrows. There we go. So, but like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we do our Modern Horizons review.
Yep.
One thing
I love that card because it allows every tribe to be
Yeah.
played now.
Yeah, whatever goofy thing you want. They talked on Brainstorm Brewery. They're like, oh, let's just do all gods because there's like 27
Yep.
gods now. Like, man, that would be fun. It'd be fun. It'd be a fun deck. I don't know if it'd be good, but it'd be fun.
They also called it a flash in the pan commander. So
Yeah,
like the cards that it's
sure.
spiking won't stay spiked.
I would agree with that for sure. Now, one thing I wanted to ask though, slivers at the time were this super unique thing, particularly when they came out early on, because of that sharing ability. But Magic's 27 or 28 years old now, I think, right?
27. Yeah.
27 years old.
93.
So every year,
Yeah, 26. Yeah, because
Every-
last year was 25th anniversary.
particularly for the big main tribes, every year we get a new lord, usually in zombies, and oftentimes a merfolk one. But zombies especially, where it says all zombies get +1/+1, or all zombies get swamp walk. At this point, like, you can kind of build a zombie deck, like a sliver deck, because you could build an all-lord zombie deck, essentially, and just share around
Yeah.
swamp walk and flying and menace and death touch and...
Whatever.
But you're stuck
else.
in 2 colors.
You're stuck in multiple colors, but it kind of winds up being the same principle. It's not 5 colors, but it kind of winds up being that same principle where once upon a time there was 2 zombie lords.
Yep.
So the slivers felt like a whole different thing. Now at this point, and now where are we going to be in 10 years or 12 years when we've gotten that many more? All humans get, double strike and all whatever.
Just give that to me right now. That's all I want.
So it kind of, I wonder as the game changes, it kind of does make Slivers, I think, a little less unique whenever we get a new lord that lets you kind of do the same thing with that tribe. That's not necessarily bad. It's just a thing I've kind of observed that's happened whenever we get new cards. It adds to that pool in a way that kind of makes your tribe like Slivers to a degree.
Yeah.
So that is just a thing I wanted to point out.
Gotcha.
I think that's going to be it for this Sliver show.
Yeah.
We'll be back on Thursday with a deck tech. Our podcast theme is Retro Future Dirty by Kevin MacLeod, licensed via Creative Commons. Our show is edited by Ken Peddle. You can find him on Twitter at LOAD3R. You can find me on Twitter at Dana Roach. You can find Max at CMD _ Max. And you can find Chris at WiseSquishy1. We'll be back on Thursday. Until then, I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.